9 to noon radio, 11:07. Good morning. Hopefully everybody's having a wonderful day and even a better weekend. 9 to noon is at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center on Monday. We will be in the radio studio. Offensive line coach Chris Cooper most likely will be joining. I might run down an interview or two after a practice today that we can drop into the mix. So make sure you listen to 9 to noon each and every day for Vikings and a National Football League conversation that undoubtedly will envelop the show for about the next month. And speaking of the NFL, before we get back to the OU, the overs and the unders, Courtney Cronin, who joined 9 to noon earlier this week to chat about the Bears, at Courtney R. Cronin via the X machine. The Chicago Bears have gone into pads at training camp for the first time today. And Courtney tweeted X amount of minutes ago, about 10 minutes ago, intensity has ratcheted up a bit in 11 on 11. We have some playful jawing between cornerbacks coach David Overstreet and running backs coach Chad Morton. Next play, DeMarcus Walker and Gerald Everett get into it after the offense took exception to Khalil Herbert getting tackled. Caleb Williams got in the middle to break it up. The cage match up in this thing.
People love that stuff, right? They like to see teams getting feisty and players getting feisty.
What about coaches?
Fans love it. Kobe, you don't normally get that.
What if it like leaks into the cafeteria and meetings and things like that? Cornerback coach David Overstreet and running backs coach Chad Morton. Oh, playful jawing between those two.
Yeah.
So that's the most recent from Chicago Bears training camp, where they go into pads today, and the Minnesota Vikings head into pads for some super special 11 on 11.
They play. Is it next Thursday already? Hall of Fame game?
I believe so.
Wow.
Monday is when they go into pads. Noon to 2 tomorrow. Saturdays with Nordo. They'll be on the exclusive Vikings Radio Network Perch, and tomorrow is the first day for fans at training camp. Autographs and the whole thing. Vikings.com for information. We left off at sacks.
Sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, the Vikings had 43 sacks, tied for 19th in the league. The Charch line here is over under 45 sacks. Can the Vikings scrounge up 2 more sacks this year than they had last year, despite the loss of Daniil Hunter and his 13, I think? 13 sacks from
16
last season.
and a half for
Thank you.
Daniil.
16 and a half for Daniil Hunter.
8 for Wanham is gone too.
Yep. So,
what do you think, Norge?
Well, you got to replace 20, so that's 24 and a half sacks that you have to replace.
yep.
I have Turner and Grenard speculating and guessing here. I have them on 24, 25 sacks combined.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, this is where it's difficult for me, because I love that number, but then you're thinking about, you got 3 from Harrison Smith.
Oh, wow.
So you start kind of doing like and I think all 3 of those came in one game. Wasn't it like a triple sack game for Harrison?
Was it Miami?
Wow.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yes.
So he had the blow up game. You got 2, you like Ivan Pace to be in there for 2.5.
What do you have last year?
2.5.
Okay.
You had 2.5 from Metellus. So now we're blitzing Metellus.
Yeah.
We're doing weird stuff. He's one of those vaunted floaters.
Van Ginkel is not a sack guy. He just never really has been a sack guy.
High tackle guy, just kind of in the
on and off ball linebacker, which is super versatile. Not everybody is that kind of guy. Like, Daniil dropping in coverage and Daniil engaging offensive players to stop the run and Daniil rushing. He's good at all of those. But Van Ginkel in coverage he's quality stock in coverage and also around the line of scrimmage. But, instead of being good at everything and great at none, he's becoming great at a couple of things, but I don't think sacking the quarterback is one. Now, Patrick Jones is a wild card here. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to get I mean, you got to get DJ Wanham numbers out of Patrick Jones.
Well, is Patrick Jones going to play outside, or will he kind of move inside? In
Great
the context of the 3-4,
excellent question.
Is he potentially playing? Because, Tillery is not exactly the biggest body in the world, right?
Wow.
I mean, and so, what are they going to get from some of those interior guys? Take some reps off of Harrison Phillips once in a while.
Man,
it's just a weird name, right?
From the minute we signed him.
What about Jerry?
It's one of those weird fascinations I've had that caused you to call me the cartoon character, where I know Jerry Tillery's good. All right. Now, he had his best game of the season against the Vikings last year in that Vegas game.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but how good was it? I mean, what made it really, really good? I don't know. I've just been told that by two people who would know 1,000 times more about it than us. And Tillery, I think he was a first-round pick for the Chargers back in the day. Yeah. So
it just hasn't panned out for him in terms of high-end equity, but still certainly trying to carve out a spot.
Has he ever been a floater?
I'm tending, he might be this year. Get ready for it, Jerry.
Never played for Brian Flores.
Let's go, Jer Bear.
All right.
I would
over under
to
45 sacks.
Well, let us talk it out, okay?
We're trying to work this out.
This is a hard one, all right?
Yeah, this is tough.
Tillery, Dillery, Doc. What happened? What got cleaned? The quarterback's clock.
I am leaning at this moment to saying, while I do believe the defense actually improves, the front seven is solid.
We're lockstep.
I might go under 45, where it's like the whole thing looks better.
Yep.
But it's not because of the gaudy sack numbers. So I might go under 45.
All right. So it was 43 last year, tied for 19th. When you established this, you established it a shade higher. Mm-hmm. Are you trying to suck us into an under that is just a lemming square bet? What was your modus operandi for the 4-5?
Really, setting the line at 45 sacks when they had 43 last year and had Danielle Hunter and had DJ Wanham is really, I think, a discussion about Dallas Turner. And do you think Dallas Turner is going to hit the ground with a 13, 14 sack game and be in the defensive rookie of the year mix?
Right.
I do. I think the utilization for him is going to be a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. He may be coming from different positions, different sides of the field.
Yeah.
I think the production's going to be there. I was trying to suck you into a conversation about Dallas Turner and the upside that he's got.
Yeah, I mean, we had that, when we talked about how much he's going to potentially play defensive end, 3 technique in nickel. He's going to be all over the place. So, yes, I mean, to say you're going to jump out of the gate and Dallas Turner is going to have a 3-sack game because his technique is perfect, so is the spin move. And, it's just, I just think that's a long shot simply because he's so new at it. Now, getting there over the course of the race, yes, absolutely that will happen. We to get that number over 45 or 45 or over.
Yeah.
We just think Mackenzie Alexander. Think Brian Williams, who wore 29 from NC State back in the day when he was the inside corner with Antoine Winfield. They would rotate it. Brian Williams was one of the best blitzing cornerbacks I've seen in the X amount of years that I've called Vikings games. Mackenzie Alexander also was really good with the instincts of rushing the quarterback. I think he had 4 sacks one season, which may be a team record. The point being here is Shaq Griffin is, he's not going to sack the quarterback. Byron Murphy Jr., now he came on some blitzes last year and most of them got picked up, but he's adroit and or comfortable at rushing the quarterback from the inside. But a Caleb Evans and Andrew Booth Jr., Nordo's guy Jalen Williams, second-year Indiana, A.J. Green III, who's no relation to the other A.J. Green.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have it in front of me how many ever sacks like their cornerbacks had last year.
Not a lot.
Yeah, right. I know.
Oh. All right, so we've established you're under 45 sacks, I believe.
You have that
but
answer
also
on the corners?
On our corners, sacks last year.
Yeah, you added up just on the
I'm
fly.
trying to do okay. Let me see here. Well,
it feels like 3.
Corner.
Yeah.
Caleb Evans, no.
I'm talking corner by trade because Metellus plays corner in certain situations.
Well, Metellus had 2.5.
But Metellus is not a corner. So I'm saying the corners.
What I'm seeing right here is I believe that the answer is 0 sacks.
Yeah, right.
0 sacks by our corners.
I would have guessed 2. So if you want to get that mug over 45, you need 4 or 5 from your cornerbacks.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with Nordo.
Well, let me throw this. 2017 Vikings defense number ones across the board,
Yep.
right? But they were actually high teens, low 20s in sacks. They had 37 sacks in 2017. The only reason I bring that up is in the context of the 43. 43 sacks would have put the Vikings as 5th in the NFL in 2017. And you've seen gradually as I went year to year, 43 keeps kind of slowly but surely getting pushed down the line.
Yeah.
So in some ways, do we look at going over 45 by nature of a passing league where, again, in 2017, 43 is 5th in the NFL, and it's mostly been outside the top 10 since, and now we're talking about 19th in the NFL. Is there a part of this where if you do get a couple of sacks out of a corner and you play those games and Dallas Turner lives up to the hype, that you just kind of get there by the number of reps these guys are putting in pass rushing downs, the evolution? I mean, we've seen the Dallas Turners of today. I don't want to say that they're, it's a dime a dozen, but they're the pass rushing talent coming out every draft, and these guys hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
It's year after year after year. And so, we had this last year, we had the leader in the NFL had 60 sacks. You had the next 4 in the 50s. You had 5 teams 48 or more. I mean, that's nearly half the league right there that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just, what?
I'm spitballing.
I'm changing my mind. I'm
You're
going
going
over 45 just for the hell of it.
Yep, very compelling over-under here. And the last thing I'll add to it is the quarterbacks, it's the offensive line teams play obviously matter. They don't matter with sacks as much as people would think. It's the trigger man. It's the quarterback. Getting the line squared away with the protection. Can your running backs pick up the blitz? How well do your tight ends block? So a lot of that goes into sacks. So, who was the Miami cat? Skylar Thompson, was that his name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the quarterback.
Yeah, you got Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
You got Desmond Ritter up in here. You got Taylor Heineke. You got Aiden O'Connell. Yeah, so now we got Danny Dimes. All right. He can run away from sacks. I just don't think he takes a ton of sacks, but I could be wrong. Then Purdy.
Well, that'll be his first game back from the ACLs. The mobility
so he might not even play.
Well, he'll play.
Okay.
But the mobility, which got him out of a lot of sacks, may not be there for Daniel Jones.
Oh, you should see the Daniel Jones to Malik Neighbors propaganda that's popping up all over Giants social media right now. They're just excited about it.
Oh, yeah.
They're making Daniel Jones sound like Elway over there.
Okay. Purdy gets rid of the ball quickly. C.J. Stroud can run out of trouble, and he gets rid of the ball quickly. Jordan Love, that's a 5-sack game. If, Jordan gets rid of the ball more quickly now than when we saw them at Lambeau last year. A-Rod is old. He ain't taking any sacks. Old people don't like to get hit.
Brady made a career of that, yes.
Goff does not take sacks. Stafford used to take 13 a game. Never takes them anymore. Old people don't like to get hit. Anthony Richardson, well, if you hit him,
good luck catching him.
Well, good luck getting him down if you hit him.
Yeah.
With that Ben Roethlisberger-esque build. Trevor Lawrence, not super familiar. Will Levis, Charch hates him, so let's make that a 4-sack game. Caleb Williams, no idea. Kyler, he holds the ball too long. He throws punts, but it's still tough to get him. Cuz Buzz. Oh, geez.
Yeah. What are you going to do now?
You can get Kirk.
Yeah.
You can get Kirk. Oh, of course you can.
That's a good offensive line, though.
Right, but that's
really
the guy. It's Kurt Warner, Brett Favre, Ben Roethlisberger. Those are 3 quarterbacks who take the hit, and they know they're going to get smacked.
Oh, yeah.
And they will wait there till the last second. They will unfurl a dime, and then they'll get bludgeoned. And they'll bounce back up, shake it off, and play again. Cousins is like that.
Yeah.
But the part is, they get bludgeoned. They get hit. So consider that in Week 14. Caleb, no idea.
I'm back to under 45.
Are we still are we still rolling Geno Smith out there
in Seattle? Yeah.
Okay. Then you got Jordan. Then you got Jared.
You can't sack off.
Okay, yeah. So, wow, what a great line you laid on that at 40. It's an under.
So, because we went.
If I got a $100 bankroll, this is like $18 on the under.
Our big sack games last year, we had 5 on Browning, 4 on Aiden O'Connell.
There you go.
We had the 4 sack in the first game against Love, but 0 in the New Year's Eve game.
There you go. Back up.
5 against
super inexperienced.
Yeah.
Then he got better.
5 against Justin Fields / Bagent.
Yeah,
in that game.
Well, remember with Fields, he had been sacked like it was that. Remember that depth chart nugget I had that I couldn't believe writing. There were 2 numbers last year.
And how about when you get to hit that stat with basically the first play of the game when Wanham gets him?
Yeah, DJ. There were 2 things I wrote down on the game calling depth chart last year where I said I can't recall ever writing this down out of 400 whatever games. One was whenever we played Carolina. It wasn't one of the first 3 games.
Yeah, week 4 maybe?
Yeah, we'll give the rookie 3 games, but Bryce Young's yards per attempt was 4.1. And, bro, I was crazy. Like, you got 200 passes here. I mean, we're not looking at 8 passes. 8 checkdowns. Yeah. Bryce Young's yards per attempt was in the 4s, which is not preferred. And Justin Fields, I think with 2022 and then the first part of 2023 might have been sacked 72 times.
Yeah, it was an insane number.
The number was like 72. And then, of course, first play of the game, set that whole thing up, and here we go, Soldier Field. And then this with the sacks and everything takes the snap. Oh, here comes DJ, and down goes Justin.
And we got Bryce Young 5 times.
Yeah,
and Jalen Hurts 4 times.
Inexperienced. Hurts. The Hurts bit was amazing because that was week 2. All right, so even though eventually it took Jalen all of about 6 minutes of the first quarter to figure the whole thing out, but in the first series or 2, there were 2 plays on 2nd and 3rd down where he had watched so much of the Flores defense from Miami and just all around where he thought something was coming and he literally ducked and there was nothing there and then picked up and then just ran. But then all of us Jalen. Then it changed and now we got Devontae Smith over the top for 61 on a busted coverage. So so Jalen, they got him 4 times. But 2 or 3 of them were when he had no idea what was coming. Once he figured it out, they beat us.
Glad to not be playing the Eagles again after visiting them in back-to-back years.
Somebody tweeted this. I can't remember who it was, but thank you very much for the tweet. I thought it was a cool little nugget. Cousins, the Falcons are at Philadelphia on Monday Night Football, week 2. So Cousins, 3 consecutive years. Is that Lincoln Financial on week 2? What are we doing here? Oh, wow. Kyle Pitts. Is it a touchdown? No, the ball was fumbled into the end zone, and the Falcons are going to lose.
What if Cousins is awesome in week 2 in Philadelphia, carves them up, and we're like, where was that when we were there?
Nordo hit me with this yesterday. I didn't see this in the NFL news cycle. But your guy, James Bradbury, moving to safety.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Moving James.
Wow.
Assuming the validity is a 100 here.
Well, it is. It's because they're going Quinyon Mitchell and they love Cooper DeJean, the Iowa cat. They got both those guys.
And Darius Slay still is on the Eagles, right?
He is still on the team, but I was telling you yesterday, they're breaking this whole thing down. Check out how the secondary is going to line up. Super pumped with Quinyon and DeJean in the mix. And the whole article, Bradbury now playing some safety spot. What about Slay? They forgot about Slay.
I know. What was it? Big game Slay or what? Or big play Slay?
Big play Slay.
Yeah.
We would always say on Fantasy Football Weekly.
Yeah.
You got to be when Darius Slay was at the top of his game, and you had that matchup with your receiver. You did not want him going on the sleigh ride,
right?
Because
I always love that.
That was your 3 for 30.
Did you have a sounder with some sleigh bells?
We did. We had the sleigh bells that we would play.
The sleigh bells make it top 8 all-time Fantasy Football Weekly.
Nicknames?
Right. I mean, it's top 8. It was top 13, but the sleigh bells amplifies it.
Sony Walkman's pretty good.
Sony
Walkman, top 6.
Thank you.
Bong
Morris.
Number 1. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Because Bam Morris, wasn't he caught with a ton of pot in the trunk of a car or something?
Yes, he was.
And his nickname became Bong Morris.
I still
Fantasy Football Weekly.
Busted screen door is still one of my favorites. That's the other end.
Buster screen.
You got big play Slay. Don't want to go on the sleigh ride, but if you get that busted screen door, it's open all day.
I got 2 other favorites for you.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky. Sad Trombonski.
I always loved
one of my
him.
all-time favorites.
Top 4.
Yep. And then Chris Johnson. You remember there was that brief time where Chris Johnson and
Super
Adrian
fast.
Peterson, who was better, all that stuff, right? But later in his career, he was the tap dancing Nancy. And
I'm sorry.
Because he was.
It's crickets. I get it, but it doesn't have his name in it.
Right, I know.
Top,
I know.
It's
but he was
top 27.
He was a top dance. He was
Right.
a tap dancer.
Chris Johnson's a tough name to work with if you're trying to expand on creativity.
How about the name of a fantasy team? And I don't know if this person still has this name in one of your leagues, but it was I love big TDs.
Mm-hmm.
I always love
well
that.
enunciated. Well enunciated.
You're listening to 9 to Noon. Around the corner, we'll put a wrap on this over-under piece and also mix in some fantasy because you're listening to 9 to Noon, your cash delivering leader.
Yeah, the Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. This hour's keyword is grand. You might win $1,000 with the keyword grand, and you enter that keyword at KFAN.com.
This is your find a way to look at 6 over-unders that aren't even available for the wagering public and milk it for 2.5 segments. A leader, the Fan, and KFAN.com. Passes per game. Charch got bored with it. We're going to eliminate it. We now are to rushing.
I did.
Yeah, he melted over here between segments. Seems like let's just because we want to do a fantasy segment about 10, 12 minutes from now before the wrap on the show. And if there is a wrap on the show, because you've been quite
working on it now,
busy this last hour, he looks at it and he goes, "What? Let's get passes per game over under 35 because it's boring. We don't need to do it." And quite honestly, I'm frustrated with myself for putting it down on the paper ever. Like, Charch, it ain't that bad, man. All we got to do is let's just skip it. So we get to rushing touchdowns for the season for the Minnesota Vikings. And again, these are not available in the legal wagering public.
No. Under 35 though, just to swipe through that one.
But for the sake of the conversation about favorite football team and the NFC North representative wearing purple, it's Paul has put together. He's crafted he looked at last year, like the Vikings had 7 rushing touchdowns last year, tied for dead last, and then he's taken that and crafted his own number off which we mythically can play with mythical honeybees and rushing touchdowns for the season. Take it away.
Charch Book has rushing touchdowns for the Minnesota Vikings for this full season. Mm-hmm. Your over-under is 12.5. Wow. Last year they had 7. Alexander Madison accounted for 0 of those 7.
Mm.
Do they get over or under 12.5 rushing touchdowns?
How many did Dobbs have? 5? Something.
Good question. I bet he led the team in rushing touchdowns.
Are you kidding me with this?
Well, Madison had 2, of course.
2 rushing touchdowns.
We're super thankful for that.
Did he have 2? No, I don't think.
No, Alexander Madison had none. Excuse me. Right. Ty Chandler had 3. Dobbs had 3.
Yeah,
there we go.
Somebody else had 1. Who was it?
It was Cam Akers.
Cam Akers, right? Cam Akers was the back for me.
I didn't have the hook on my page. Did you add the? You had the half.
I'm adding the half for this. So over and under 12.5 rushing touchdowns. Can they improve by 6?
I'm going to go over because
Showtime's going to have 7 or 8.
Yeah, for this offense to function, it better be. We saw the drop off from 22 to 23. They had 18 in 2022. Similar, we've had this running back conversation recently. Run game needs to get better, et cetera, et cetera. That's not new. I think that 7 was a function of just the inability to move man, specifically in the red zone. I'm anticipating that it's better. I'm not against the idea of over the course of the season that Sam Darnold could replicate the Josh Dobbs 3 to 4 touchdowns on the ground over the course of the season. And I do believe we get more from our running backs. I'm over. I'm going to, 15 TDs on the ground this year.
15. Holy cow. So well over.
Darnold will run for 3 or 4. And now you got super special Showtime, 7 to 10. Yeah, we're over. Yeah, we're 12.5. Yeah, this is we just took the Charch book and murdered it so badly they had to move you from the Strip to downtown. And the only reason people come to your book is because steak and lobster's $4.99. And like Circa, with the cabanas you have in the pools, well, you also have some servers doubling at the Spearmint Rhino later that evening.
Oh, what do you say?
So, certain people like that part of Charch book, but we pounded you pretty good on this one. Over 12.5 for Vikings rushing touchdown.
All right, not as much conversation on that. Let's go to this one and see if this one is a little bit trickier for you. Interceptions thrown. Last year, the Vikings as a team threw 19. That was fourth most in the league. Obviously, less of that on Kirk, a lot more on a series of backup quarterbacks that replaced him. But this year, the team rolls in, obviously, with Sam Darnold, who has a pedigree of interceptions thrown, and perhaps J.J. McCarthy trying to learn on the job. So we've set the line at the exact same number.
Yeah.
19.
What a pedigree to have. I mean, how do you know his father and his grandfather and his great grandfather threw interceptions? It's the wrong word, but we're going to keep it because I love
Sounds
it.
good.
Yeah, yes. I mean, he doesn't have a pedigree.
Well,
he has past performances.
Yes, he does have past performance. We'll call it a pedigree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interceptions.
It's under, and it's easy.
You think so? It's easy. All right.
I think it's easy because he's going to be in a system in which he's going to be asked to do very specific things, and that's going to be the evolution of this thing where he's not going to have to potentially go out of body to find Justin Jefferson the way that he had to go out of body to find Tommy Trimble in Carolina, and so I just think that and again, this is a projection. This is the faith and the idea of Kevin O'Connell putting something together and working him into that process. His first year starting 11 games, playing in 12 for Carolina, he had 13 picks. Okay, so and then starting 6 the following season, must have been injury related. He threw another 3. So I mean that number 19. I think you put that. It's the book's mistake that I'm going to feast on by putting it under 19, and you're giving me up to 18. I'm happy to take it. I think it's. But I think
it's a good number.
I think it is. Well, I think it's too high. I think the 13, 14, 15 range is really, I think, that sweet spot. And then that'll also kind of determine how we talk about the offense. If he's in that 13, 14, 15 area and we're entering December, I think a lot of things have gone wrong. If we're really kind of pushing up to that line, 10, 11, somewhere in that area, I think that would be a very positive sign for Sam in this offense.
How many did Buzz have the last 2 years with O'Connell?
Ooh, good question.
Well, because Darnold had 1 every 46 attempts with next level Shannon.
Yeah, he had 5 over the 8 games he played last year. And then I thought 2022 actually that number ticked up a little bit.
He had 14.
He had 14
in the full season.
All right.
The year
so 19 in his final 25 games.
So it's apples and oranges with complementary talent around Kevin O'Connell's quarterbacks. But I think the answer to the question here is to look back at what O'Connell has done as offensive coordinator and head coach here in other places. And what the passing percentages have been, it was 61% here a couple of years ago. Don't know what it was last year. Can't remember.
I think the 5th highest passing rate last year, despite the fact that Cousins missed half the year.
Now, in his final year with the Rams, Stafford threw 17 interceptions in the Super Bowl regular season. I don't have Jared Goff's numbers in front of me for the time before that. That 19 is a good number. That 19 is it's a good number, and even though Darnold's interception numbers, we got some fat numbers up in here, but not super juicy or fat. Is I think if I can recall from when he played with Carolina from the Jets, like he gets to Carolina and people were talking about him off his Jets days being like he doesn't take enough chances. He will not take. Well, that plays into the under. I mean, if he's still a guy risk averse, then the under 19 has some smashability to it, Is that it?
All right, so I believe we are taking under 19 interceptions thrown.
I actually love it. I mean, now, unless Darnold gets hurt and then we go through that 4 quarterback trick again, then that's super unpredictable.
Yeah, I think that's too high. And from a number stand, I think you're looking low mid teens will be right where it is. But you're right. If Darnold gets hurt and we start, Mullins had 8 in 5 games last year. He just loved throwing it to the other team. Couldn't help himself. He was so excited to do it in late stages of games while we're trying to come back and win.
And let's remember, as we've talked about a couple of times, there's a scenario where if Darnold either gets hurt or isn't good and they need to go to their backup.
Mullins might be too.
It might be Mullins. If they think JJ's not ready, Mullins might be back on the field rather than putting JJ out too fast.
More than 19.
If I got $5,000 and I'm going to split these 5, I'm not going to go percentages, but my largest play probably would be under 19 interceptions. My second largest play, my largest play would be over 12 rushing touchdowns. I think they're going to smash that.
Yeah.
My second would be the under on interceptions thrown. And then my third would be under on the sacks total, under 45.
My biggest would be under 19. My next biggest, I believe that the offense, and it doesn't mean they're going to be the high flyers, that over 20. I think it just, that has to be a sure thing from where I'm looking at it. That would be my biggest. I'm still worried about this run game, PA. I'm still, it's not, I'm not losing sleep over it. I don't lose sleep over anything, but that's a scary number. 12 is like the perfect way to sum up how this Russian attack's going to go. It's brilliantly laid.
Final segment around the corner. Question for you. Anybody out there lonely? Is anybody out there in search of companionship? Well, the next segment involves fantasy, so don't wait.
I can't wait until tomorrow, 'cause tomorrow might very well be too late.
All right, you fantasy freakazoids. We can't have the preeminent fantasy football mind in studio each and every week and not broach a fantasy football topic. Don't forget, Fantasy Football Weekly this weekend. You find that via your favorite podcasting spots, right, Charch?
Yes, Fantasy Football Weekly, wherever you get your podcasts. We've got a new episode dropping this afternoon. I'll be taping with Scott Fish. We're going to talk about some of the great, best undervalued starters across the fantasy football landscape.
Sam Darnold could be one.
Sam Darnold's name may very well come up in this one.
All right.
Currently going off the board is quarterback 34
2
in
minutes.
fantasy drafts.
I'm going to hit you with your bits, and you give us the answers in pithy, yet poignant and or quick fashion. So these are some very tough decisions fantasy drafters need to make. Let's begin with Rams running back Kyren Williams. And Blake Corum, the Michigander, I think he was the 20th overall pick in the draft.
Kyren Williams is going off the board as the 20th.
Blake Corum's on the team.
Yeah, Blake Corum is a problem because last year, Kyren Williams was found money. And tip of the hat to co-host Brian Johnson, who was calling him out all preseason. Puka Nacua was the other
Likely.
Well, Isaiah Likely worked out well. He needed the injury to Mark Andrews, but he came on great at the end of the year. You're at about pick 20. You're thinking, Rams running back Kyren Williams is there. And now, of course, we like that Rams offense. We know you're going to have some productivity out of it. But last year, there was nobody on the roster of the Rams to take the ball away from Kyren Williams. Right. He had moments when he looked good, but now they
Didn't he get hurt for like a month and a half?
He did. He missed something in the neighborhood of 6-ish games. Yeah, you're about right on that. But now here comes Blake Corum, and we know Blake Corum can be a workhorse back like he was at Michigan. He can be used anywhere on the field. And so a tough decision on whether or not you can trust Kyren Williams to do what he did last year, knowing Blake Corum is now there. And Sean McVay, typically, you have to go all the way back to Todd Gurley before he had a workhorse back. You generally used a rotation, including Cam Akers on and off. So I'm out on Kyren Williams. Other people think it's a great value. You're getting a guy who was a top 5 running back last year when he was healthy. But I'm worried about Blake Corum.
We will save JJ, Saquon, Marvin Harrison Jr., and so on for next week. Great seeing you.
Sounds great.
That's Paul Charchian, GuillotineLeagues.com. Speaking of fantasy football, it is time. Guillotine League, GuillotineLeagues.com. It both get you to the same spot. It's my favorite way to play fantasy, and it's not even close. So give it a look if you're thinking about a draft. And I'm Paul Allen. Everybody have a blessed weekend. Chat with you on Monday. Here comes Norda with a wrap on the show.
And thanks to Casey's for bringing you the 9 to noon show wraps. Casey's Rewards with food and fuel deals, elite pizza. They are wonderful spots. Go to a Casey's today. And we're loving Fantasy Football Weekly. The nicknames were never uttered meekly. The essence of nerdy with creativity. Ripping bad players a natural proclivity. Looking for a big wide receiver score? Well, Buster Screen. He's the busted screen door. Remember Trubisky, the sad trombone ski? Start him in your league. How about maybe you don't ski? Funny stuff from Charch and weekly cohorts, like the Todd Heap Memorial Injury Report. Chris Johnson, a tap dancing Nancy. Say that to his face, texted her Rube. No chancey. Friday feast today. It was lit. Milked an hour out of a Vikes over-under bit. We're done for the day. Don't mean to leave you in a lurch. Tune in tomorrow at noon. We'll be on the Camp Perch.
You homer!
Oh, good.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.